to study.
Indeed.
And he is a specialist in drivers' subjective feelings of safety and trust in self-driving vehicles. That's what he is going to talk about. So, Francesco, the floor is yours. I want a big hand for Francesco. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so yeah, thank you for the nice introduction. So yes, I'm Francesco Walker. I do have a background in cognitive psychology, and I am a PhD student of this university. My work focuses on trust in automated vehicles. So in the next more or less 40 minutes, I would like to, well, let's say, tell you a little bit more about my PhD, but I would also really like to discuss with you guys the different human factors challenges that are really slowing down the uptake of this technology. But I mean, it's 4 o'clock, it's getting like kind of late-ish, maybe some of you guys are a little bit sleepy already, so just let me like ease you in a little bit, let's just not jump into this like immediately, and just let me tell you a little bit more about myself. So, yes, so I come from the most beautiful city in the world, and that is not Enschede, no, that is Rome, Italy. And Rome is definitely known for, I mean, incredible sculptures and, well, beautiful art and really, really, really exciting football. This is Totti, King of Rome. Rome is also known for less exciting football. And, well, of course, stunning views. And in Rome, I completed my bachelor at La Sapienza University, bachelor in general psychology. And then I decided to move to Amsterdam. And in Amsterdam, I joined the research master program in cognitive neuropsychology, offered by the VU, the Vrije Universiteit. I'm sure that some of you guys know a little bit about this university. But Amsterdam is very different compared to Rome and to Enschede as well, but I'm not going into that. And I'm not talking about the obvious differences, you know, the canals, the bikes, and the tall Dutch people. I'm not talking about that. Traffic. Traffic in Amsterdam is completely different compared to traffic in Rome. So you see, I moved from a city in which traffic lights and Christmas lights are basically the same thing, to a city in which the road infrastructure actually works. Public transport works. And I mean, believe it or not, but people in this country actually tend to respect traffic rules. And I was shocked. I mean, completely, coming from Rome. I mean, shocked in a positive way. And this really made me understand that change is possible. I mean, even for a country, even for a city like Rome, change is possible. And self-driving vehicles in the future will definitely be part of this change. But to be honest with you guys, with a background in psychology, I never thought that I would be working on this topic. But I mean, as all good things, I just happened to be at the right place, at the right time. And when the University of Twente offered me this PhD position, I honestly thought that this was my chance to be part of something big and like really exciting. So here I am, doing my PhD in beautiful Enschede. But let me tell you something more about my PhD. What is my PhD actually about? Well, my PhD is part of a massive project called iCave. And in iCave, not only the University of Twente, but also Delft University of Technology, TU Eindhoven, and the Radboud University all collaborate together to develop an automated vehicle. And the canvas of this automated vehicle is, or better will be, a modified version of the Renault Twizy that you see here on screen. And the goal is to see this Twizy carrying not only people, but also goods from one building to the other of the campus of the University of Eindhoven. The University of Twente works on the human factors side of this project. A little bit more in detail, we have 3 different PhDs working on this. So we have Annika Buhlhauer, she works on the human-machine interface, the HMI of this vehicle. De Bargodet, he investigates interactions between the vehicle and surrounding traffic, so interactions with cyclists and pedestrians. And then there's me, Francesco Walker, and as I briefly mentioned, my focus of interest is in trust in automated vehicles. Now, this is the 3rd year of my PhD, so I'm getting towards an end. And in these first 3 years, I really got to investigate some super interesting research questions. I got to publish some of my work, so supervisor's pretty happy. But I also got to do one other thing that actually really makes me love this job. I got to drive a bunch of really nice cars, seriously. So this is me pretending to keep my cool in one of the latest BMW models. As you can tell from the hand of my supervisor here, it was quite a scary experience. I mean, the automation actually worked fine, but you know, just thinking that you're driving such an expensive vehicle that with my PhD salary I could never afford, that's what actually makes it scary. But anyways, this is a Mercedes E-Class, also super experienced, quite a luxurious one. Like, you know, inside the Mercedes E-Class really looks like a yacht. I mean, you can change the lights inside of it. You can even choose different forms of massages for your seat. I mean, unbelievable. What are these guys doing? And this one down here is a BMW i8 Roadster that actually has no automation whatsoever, but it was such a fun ride that I thought I would include it in this slide anyways. All right. But these are all level 2 automated vehicles. And this means that automation is actually not all the same. So we have 5 or 6 different levels of automation. We can start from level 0 or level 1, that is, let's say, no automation at all. And then we move to level 2, that corresponds to partially automated vehicles. And in partially automated vehicles, we have a combination of different advanced driving assistance systems. So for example, you can have a combination of adaptive cruise control with lane keeping functionalities. The important thing to keep in mind about level 2 systems is that whatever happens to your vehicle, you're still the ultimate responsible. And what I mean with this is that you're always, by law, you always need to keep your eyes on the road. So Tesla, with its autopilot, although it has a very misleading name, actually belongs to this category. So although the vehicle at times does give you the possibility to get your hands off the steering wheel, still by law you need to keep your attention on the road. This is very important. Level 2. But we move to level 3, conditional automation. And level 3 is the first level in which the supervisory role actually moves from the driver to the system. So actually in level 3, you do not need to keep your attention on the road. You can take that time to take a nap, read, answer emails. However, and this is the catch, these vehicles cannot handle every possible driving scenario. So the idea behind level 3 is that the system will recognize that it can't do a specific thing and will give you an alert. And then you will have like between 6 and 10 seconds to manually take back control of the vehicle. Yes? That, and I will actually tell a little bit more about something linked to what you're discussing. But yeah, the possibilities, especially with level 3 and level 4, are like still to be properly explored, let's put it that way. Then we move to level 4. Level 4 is, actually, sorry, before moving to level 4, just let me tell you that level 3 does not sound super safe, right? I mean, like, taking manually back control when you get an alert, and what if you don't take manually back control? What if you're just having this like really awesome dream and you're just not going to wake up because of the alert? So some companies are just planning to completely skip this level, and Ford is one of these companies. And to move directly to level 4. Now, level 4 is a self-driving car. Level 4 is what you think about a self-driving car. However, level 4 works in only some very, very specific environments. So, for example, the Twizy that we are developing within the iGive project, that is level 4. Because the idea is that the Twizy can handle everything, but only everything that happens in the campus of the University of Eindhoven. That's the idea behind level 4. And finally, we have level 5, the ultimate dream, the fully self-driving car, maybe a car without steering wheel, maybe a car without pedals, but anyways, a car that can handle every possible driving scenario in every possible situation. But we're still very far, actually, from level 5. And now I have a question for you guys. So, now that you know a little bit about these levels, if a level 5 fully autonomous vehicle would be available today, who of you would be more than happy to have one, to own one? Can I see some hands? I think most people are on the yes side, indeed. Let me challenge you a little bit. Can someone give me a reason, just a quick reason of why it would be nice to have such a car? Yes. That's the thing that I love about this topic, that you get like a lot of different questions, and actually there are still not a lot of answers out there because these kind of vehicles are just not out there yet. So, we're thinking about, should we license people? Should we not license people? I mean, you can just speculate about it, but my personal recommendation is do get a license because it's a lot of fun, so do it while you can. One more reason why it would be nice to have, yes. So I think, oh yeah, please. But I think I can summarize your...
Because I think it's more safe.
Yes, okay. So those are actually the two answers that I was looking for. So I think we can summarize the first one with comfort. So indeed, if a vehicle completely takes care of the driving task, well, then you can use that time to do a lot of different things. You can sleep, you can work, and you can do a lot of other fun stuff. You can even, completely redefine the space. If you don't need to drive, maybe the autonomous car can become like a second living room, a second office. Just the sky is the limit. And then, of course, safety. Safety is definitely the main factor that is driving the development of this technology. So, reports show that about 96% of the road accidents are due to human error. 96%. It doesn't sound so bad to filter out the human at that point, You take him out of the equation, and then really the accidents can drop. I don't know if they're ever going to get to 0, but they're definitely going to drop. So safety, yes. Now, who of you would not want to have a self-driving car? Can I see some hands again? There is always someone that doesn't want it. Yes, can you please tell me why?
Understand the dynamics and everything. So, when we have autonomous...
That is indeed a possibility that gets discussed a lot. Divide the driving into like separate tracks and use the normal, let's call it normal autonomous vehicle for the everyday commute and have them as two completely separate things and not mix them together. Yes, that is a very good point. Yes. I understand. I completely understand what you mean. And so we go back to safety, While safety is on one hand one of the main factors that is driving the technology, on the other hand, will these vehicles ever be as safe as they promise to be? And I can imagine that maybe these vehicles will still need to share the road with manually driven vehicles, maybe for quite some time, unless you don't make this like clear dichotomous separation between the two. But that does not sound super safe. And then there are many other reasons I can think about. We have hacking, of course, and we have privacy issues, very hot topic right now. And actually, thank you for mentioning that, because I wanted to say that. So I'm Italian and I love driving. I will give you that stereotype. And you know, where do companies such as Ferrari, Lamborghini, and Ducati like fit within the scheme? And I want them to fit, you know, because, I mean, we don't want to get rid of Ferraris. I mean, come on. So yeah, actually we have like a lot of questions and honestly not a lot of answers yet. But let's see where the general American population stands on this point. And this is something that the news agency AAA decided to investigate through an online survey. So in 2017, they asked the general American population, would you be afraid of riding in a fully autonomous vehicle? Now, 2017, 63% reported, yes, I am afraid of this technology. Quite a high percentage. But you know, I mean, technology improves every day. I mean, we've also seen that in the previous presentation. It improves like drastically, and everyone knows that technology can only improve. So I mean, I would expect that in 2018, if you would ask exactly the same question, then the percentage should actually go down. Well, same question, 2018, and we move to 73%. So there is a big increase of people that are afraid of this technology. And what's even more surprising is that if we look inside the age groups, the millennials are the ones being more afraid of self-driving cars. So what's going on? Why are people so afraid of automated vehicles? Well, before answering that question, just let me show you how Intel is advertising their automated technology. So I just have a brief commercial here that I want to show you, and I'll do my best to let it work on the screen. All right. Yes, okay, so, I mean, let's face it, the commercial is pretty cool, right? I mean, Intel did do a really good job in advertising their own technology. But actually, it's these kind of commercials that are part of the problem. While on one hand, they do really create awareness towards this kind of technology, on the other hand, they also really create unrealistic standards on what these vehicles are capable of. So, you know, if you're just someone from the general population, you know nothing about this technology, and this commercial pops up in the halftime of your football match or the Super Bowl, this is the States, they don't watch football, then you might think that this technology is already out there, or at least you'll think that it's in a very, very advanced stage. And I mean, to be fair, I don't know if any of you guys noticed this, Intel does write, do not attempt, autonomous cars not yet available. I mean, good guy, Intel, thanks for that. I mean, no one's gonna read that, right? And I mean, if you think that this is quite an extreme example, well, actually Tesla's selling campaign is very, very similar. This is what you would find on Tesla's homepage if you would go to buy a Tesla Model S or a Tesla Model X. Full self-driving hardware on all cars. Now, this is just completely misleading. It makes you think that your Tesla already has full self-driving capabilities, and it has not. And actually, Tesla removed this from their website just a couple of months ago. So I'm quite happy to have a screenshot of it because I knew that this would be a problem at a certain point. All right, so, but what happens when your expectations towards technology are just way too far? Then those will lead to outsized reactions in the face of inevitable accidents. And accidents are going to happen because the technology is not perfect, you still need to test it, so you just, at a certain point, you cannot avoid accidents. This one that you see down here, this is the first accident involving Tesla's autopilot. You probably heard a little bit about this. This was in Florida, 2016. And what happened, very simply, is that autopilot failed to detect the truck. So the truck was just seen as normal sky, and that's because there was a lot of light reflecting on, let's say, the white part of the truck. And so what happened is just that the Tesla, at a very full speed, went underneath the truck, and that's why you see the damage here, and crashed, and the driver unfortunately died. But don't forget that Tesla is a level 2 system, so of course the driver had to keep his eyes on the road. And that is of course not what happened in this case. Reports show that at the moment of the accident, the driver was actually viewing a movie, a Harry Potter movie to be precise. It was still playing at the end, so sad and funny at the same time, but I would say mostly sad. And this one that you see over here, this is a more recent one. This is the first accident involving a self-driving Uber taxi. And well, what happened here, kind of similar to the other accident actually. Well, the Uber taxi failed to detect a pedestrian crossing the road in the middle of the night. Actually, the Uber taxi did detect the pedestrian, but only 1.6 seconds before impact, and that just isn't enough time to avoid collision. And well, of course, Uber, let's say, took quite a big hit from the accident. They had to stop completely all their tests in Arizona, and I don't think that they're planning to start again anytime soon. But Uber is not the only company that is testing in Arizona. We also have Google with its Waymo division. And before this accident, there have been already tons of reports of people just throwing stones at the cars and even threatening the safety drivers with knives. So like really nasty stuff. So I think that what Mr. Opolka says, and that is just a shopkeeper in Phoenix, kind of summarizes a lot of the thoughts of the general population. They said they need real-world examples, but I don't want to be the real-world mistake. Outsized reactions. All right, but outsized reactions are not the only human factors challenge that we need to face. There are also ethical dilemmas, and the most famous one is the trolley problem, that I'm sure that most of you guys are familiar with. So in its, let's say, new form, this was introduced in the 60s, and for who is not familiar with this, this is how it looks like. You can just decide to let the trolley go and kill 5 people tied on the track, or you can decide to pull the lever and then only 1 person will die because the trolley changes direction. And the question is, what is the ethical decision? What is the ethical thing to do? And it's a dilemma, so of course there is no right or wrong answer. But yeah, people have been discussing about the trolley problem for ages. We have tons of different versions. This is one of the most famous ones. Instead of a lever, in this case, you can decide to like push a person off a bridge, and that will, let's say, stop the tram. But you also have like some other ones, like this one. You can decide to save all the people, but then the tram will not go for the sick loop, and so some people think that that would not be funny. But I mean, this is just to show that the trolley problem has been like used so many times that it has a little bit become like its own joke in specific scenarios. Let's put it that way. But you know, anyways, it is on the back of our mind. People think of the trolley problem, and people think that for some reasons that the press keep bringing up, that this problem is highly related to automated driving. So we do need to address it. And this is what the MIT did. So the MIT started this online survey called The Moral Machine, and very nicely they just asked participants to, let's say, make moral decisions linked to automated vehicles. So here you have just an example of one of the scenarios. In this case, you can decide to just let the car go and kill the 5 robbers, or you can decide to let the car change direction, and in this other case, 5 doctors are gonna die. You might think that the answer to this scenario is obvious, but I would like you to notice that actually the doctors are not supposed to cross the street because they have a red light. So the robbers are actually doing the right thing in this specific scenario. But yeah, anyways, I mean, if you are interested in this kind of research, just give it a go yourself. The Moral Machine is still up. And at the end, it gives you this really user-friendly interface in which you can see which is the most killed character, which is the most saved character, and also where you stand compared to the general population. And that can be like really, really interesting. What I can tell you is that the most killed character is indeed the cat. So, yeah, I know, I had the same reaction. It's sad. But the most saved character is a kid in a stroller. There. All right, one more human factors dilemma, and that is, how do these vehicles communicate with external road users? So EHMI, and that stands for External Human-Machine Interface. And we can divide this specific challenge in, let's say, 3 subcategories. And the first one is communication, instruction or intention. Should these vehicles tell you what to do, or should they tell what they are doing? So, you know, instruction could be like in the example here in the slide, please go ahead. But more and more car companies are going more towards the intention side. And that is mostly to avoid liability issues. You know, you don't want to tell a pedestrian to cross the road and then he actually, you know, then maybe the vehicle doesn't manage to stop. That would create a lot of issues. So maybe communicating intention seems to be like the way to go, more than giving instructions. Then we have scalability. So in a lot of these examples that we see online, the vehicle is always like communicating something to one single pedestrian. But how does that work when you have multiple people crossing the road? This is actually the most busiest crossing in the world. This is Shibuya in Tokyo. It's really fun. I was there a couple of months ago, so I recommend it. Cool experience. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what like an automated vehicle would go completely crazy here. I still have no idea how, let's say, EHMIs can handle this specific situation. And then just let me mention the final challenge, color. And this might sound like, let's say, stupid, but by law, actually you cannot use specific colors in your designs. And this does not only apply to self-driving vehicles, this applies to manually driven cars as well. And that's mostly to avoid confusion on the road. So, you know, blue should be reserved to emergency vehicles, and then green, red, and yellow mostly for traffic lights. All right, so I just wanted to show you some examples of different EHMIs that have been suggested in the past years. This is by Semcon. This is the smiling car. So here the car is smiling to tell pedestrians that they can cross. Very nice idea, but then again, you're giving instructions rather than communicating intention. Not really the way to go. This is a design suggested by Jaguar. The eyes, in this case, follow the pedestrian. And here again, we have the issue of scalability. What happens if you have more pedestrians? Then the eyes will start going a little bit crazy, and probably it's not going to be super informative. So let's say not the way to go. And I wanted to show you one more. This is from Mercedes. Very nice idea, projecting a zebra path on the road. Now, this would work very well during the night, probably not so well during the day. And then again, you have blue here, and that is quite a no-go, because of color issues. This is work that my friend and colleague has been conducting at the University of Eindhoven. And what he did here, what the general idea was to see if pedestrians that want to cross the road react in a different way when confronted with a self-driving vehicle. And to simulate autonomy, since we do not have these cars yet on the road, he built a seat suit. So as you can see, I'm not the only one having a lot of fun during my PhD. And it's really, like, seriously, if you see it from outside, I swear you cannot tell that there is someone driving this car. Like, it's really funny. But anyways, these are only like preliminary results, so take them with a pinch of salt. But what they nicely show is that people do not really seem to show a lot of difference on how they react with these vehicles. So, I mean, we will definitely need to see some follow-ups about this, because I think it is like some really interesting research. All right, but all these different human factors challenges have one thing in common, and that is trust in automated vehicles, or mostly the lack of trust in automated vehicles. But what is trust? Well, trust is a concept that has been widely used in the field of interpersonal relationships, but when it comes to automation, the most widely accepted definition is definitely the one provided by Lee and C, that define trust as the attitude that an agent will help achieve an individual's goals in a situation characterized by uncertainty and vulnerability. But what I would like you to understand is that trust fluctuates continuously due to a vast array of factors, including our initial predispositions towards these systems, but also our actual experience with these vehicles. And talking about experience, this is a study that we conducted last year. We had all the latest level 2 automated vehicles. So we had the latest Volvos and the Mercedes and the latest Teslas. And what we asked our participants was how much they trusted these vehicles to handle very specific driving situations. And we asked them this before experiencing the vehicles on the road and after experiencing the vehicles on the road. And the interesting outcome of this study is that after the experience, trust usually tends to go down, showing that people really tend to overestimate what these vehicles are capable of. Overtrust is a big issue, is a big human factors issue, and is the problem mainly behind all the accidents involving Tesla's autopilot. So the goal of human factors is not to reach the highest possible level of trust in the user, but to align drivers' subjective feelings of safety with the actual capabilities of the vehicle. And this is known as trust calibration. But now, although trust calibration is, let's say, of course, desirable, there is no consensus out there on how we should achieve this. But anyways, Lee and C, that in 2004 wrote what is considered still today the Bible of trust in automation, gave us some guidelines. So these guys say, show the purpose of the automation. Show the process and algorithms of the automation. The recent work shows us that this might be, let's say, a little bit overwhelming for the driver, just seeing all the algorithms going on. Train operators regarding its expected reliability. And this is what we did a little bit in our study, you know? If you give to participants the chance to experience their vehicles, well then of course their trust will be more in line with what these cars are actually capable of. And finally, carefully evaluate any anthropomorphizing of the automation. And with this, Lee and C mean give a face, give a voice to your automated system and really check how that can improve their trust towards it. And there is some really interesting work going on in that direction. And this is just how Audi on the left and Tesla is, let's say, communicating some of the information. I just thought it would be nice to include.
Francesco, could you round off in a couple of minutes? Would
Yes,
that
I
be
can,
possible? Yeah?
absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so very quickly, I'll wrap up in 2 minutes. If we want to achieve trust calibration, we need ways to measure trust objectively. And you know, right now, trust is usually investigated through questionnaires. And I mean, you're all psychologists. I'm sure you all use questionnaires, and I have nothing against them. But when it comes to trust in automation, no? I saw that. But yeah, when it comes to trust in automation, I really need to know how high or how low trust is in a very specific moment. And you cannot do that through questionnaires. So we're investigating more reliable, continuous ways of measuring trust in automation, and eye tracking seems to be at least one of the most promising solutions. Yeah, I'll skip through this slide. We show that eye tracking works. Electrodermal activity as well. But why is developing this technology so important? Well, let me give you a practical example. We have our self-driving car here in green, and the driver just decided to disengage the automated function, and we want to know why. Now, if we look at the scene, you know, there's a kid crossing the road. We think that's probably the cause of the disengagement, and that's exactly what our eye tracking data would show us. The eye tracking data would show us that through heat maps generated in real time, would tell us that in a very specific time frame, several objects were viewed in the scene, some more than others, and in this case, the kid is the most viewed object in the scene. The kid is likely the cause of the disengagement. But this is an obvious scenario. You do not need real-time heat maps to figure out what's going on here. But there are many different situations in which you have no idea why the drivers are using or not using automation. So this kind of technology can really help engineers not only in understanding drivers' behavior, but also in really tailoring these systems to user needs. And this brings me to my final slide, the end of this self-driving journey that I hope that you guys enjoyed. And I want to leave you with a provocative statement. This is what the big head of Porsche said in 2016. The idea of a driverless Porsche is as exciting as using a Rolex for boiling eggs. Whatever that means, I mean, more or less. But what I would like you to understand is that we're not going to move from manually driven vehicles to automated cars overnight. And the improvement of this technology is really making our roads safer every day. 2017, 1 year later, Porsche says, we see autonomous driving not as a threat, but as a tremendous opportunity. Autonomous driving and Porsche go together very well. Now, this is the kind of future that I'm looking forward to. Thank you very much.